in worship this morning. If we've not had a chance to meet yet, my name is Tim Catlett. I'm privileged to serve as one of the pastors here. And it truly is a joy to come together this Sunday in the midst of what for many of us might have been a busy week or a full weekend, and yet to come and pause and to give space for us to encounter the God of love, the God that invites us to new life both here and for eternity. And it really is a great joy to do that together this morning. As we get started today, I'm going to draw your attention to a couple quick announcements. If you flip with me in your bulletins to the first page of announcements under Welcome All, there are a couple schedule changes I want you aware of this summer. The first is right there. This is the second announcement right there, that beginning June 23rd, so June 23rd, June 30th, and July 7th, so 3 Sundays, we will actually have this space closed while we refinish the floors in here and help protect them for another, we hope these floors last for another 20 years, and so we will protect them, seal them, and so that will be happening those 3 Sundays. Well, what we will do those Sundays is we will combine services in our sanctuary. And so at 8:15 will be a normal traditional service. At 9:35, our contemporary team will lead us in our sanctuary in a contemporary service. And then at 11, we will do a blended service together in that space for those 3 weeks. The other benefit of that is Laura Johnson, our new campus pastor, will be joining us June 30th and preaching for the first time July 7th. And so if you want to hear her preach for the first time here, to see if she does a good job, which she will, by the way. But if you want to, you get a chance to hear her at any point throughout that morning as well those weeks. And so just pay attention to those schedules as we come together in the summer. I also want to flip one page to Serve All. And right under Serve All, you'll see a monthly hurricane trip that's happening next Saturday. So one of the things that I'm very grateful for is that our church, after Hurricane Florence, and even really still coming to some damage from Matthew, continues to be partnering with Encore and with our annual conference to provide relief to those that have been displaced by those storms. And so each month we've committed as a church family to be in those spaces together. And so if you're looking for a way to plug in or serve for just a Saturday, and some of you, your schedules are slowing down as we approach summer, maybe a great time to jump in, serve next weekend. It's not too late to sign up, and there's details there as well. The last thing I want to share with you, I'm actually going to have Hannah Dilray share. So I'm going to invite Hannah up. And Hannah's going to share a little bit about what our kids are doing to lead us in mission this year, the last 4 months. So Hannah, you guys welcome Hannah.
I'm here to talk to you for just a few minutes about Kids on a Mission. Kids on a Mission is a program that was started 4 months ago with our K through 5 children. And they are working towards raising $25,000 to help support kids in the Zoe ministry. Zoe is a ministry that partners with orphaned and vulnerable children around the world that helps empower them to become self-sufficient. And it's a ministry that our church has partnered with a long time, and that now our children are coming alongside. Many of our congregation members have even been lucky enough to go and travel and see the true effectiveness of this program. So far, in 4 months, our children have raised $12,000 by doing chores around their homes and in their communities. And we've also had a church member who was inspired by the works that these kids were doing and has agreed to match up to the $25,000 amount. So that means that currently we are committing to help serve almost 300 Zoe orphans. I want to share just a few ways that these kids have been serving their communities because I just think it's so awesome. Many children have helped lemonade stands, done yard work, cleaned around theirs and their neighbors' houses. We've also had kids who have partnered with adults like our Mayberry Sunday School class and their aunts, and uncles, and grandparents who have agreed to match the amount that these children are earning. We had one child who put on a neighborhood talent show. A first grader put on helped with a local tennis tournament. Some of our Noah's Ark kids helped serve a luncheon. A 6-year-old made and sold dog biscuits. It's been truly amazing to see the ways these kids have so graciously served their communities and have eagerly wanted to participate in this ministry. I'm so proud and humbled to be a part of a congregation that is raising our children from such an early age to be be mission-minded and to love others with a servant's heart. We have 1 week left to meet our $25,000 goal. So as our children are wrapping up their chores and activities, I have 2 things to ask of you this morning. The first would be to just please be in prayer. Prayer over our children and the hands they're helping, prayer over our Zoe children and the Lord's continued provision for them. Just pray that the Lord would do exceedingly more through these efforts than we could ever imagine. And second, this morning, if you feel you're in a financial position where you can contribute to this mission, we would so appreciate any amount that you can contribute. You can write a check to UMC with Kids on a Mission in the memo line. You can put that in the offering this morning or drop it at the church office before the end of this week. Thanks so much.
And there are details about that in your bulletin on the back page. You said Kids on a Mission. One, I just want to thank Hannah. Many of you will recognize Hannah. She spoke last year at our senior or youth Sunday as she preached and shared God's word with us that week. She grew up as a youth in this church and now is leading us, even in college, coming back to help lead our church with this effort and to lead our kids and be an example for them. And so I'm proud of the work that she's doing. I'm proud of the work the group is doing. It really is, again, one of the things I'm so proud of our church is not only do we invest in our young people, help lead them to experience Christ, experience what it means to be Christ in the world, but they then turn around and lead us. And Hannah's one of those that's leading us as a church. And so I'm so very grateful for you and what you're doing. We're going to pray for Zoe. So if you'd like to join me for a minute, you want to reach out a hand of blessing towards Hannah, as Hannah represents all the kids both in this community and around the world this morning. Let's pray. Almighty God, we give you thanks. We thank you for the ways that you inspire us. We thank you for the ways that you lead us to lead others. This morning, Lord, we pray for your children all around the world, especially those who are orphaned, those who are vulnerable, those that you are bringing churches like ours and other churches alongside, not to just help them for a moment, but to empower them for a future where they are not only provided for, but are providing for a new generation to be free from poverty, to experience freedom from hunger and thirst, to know what it means to have your body around the world come alongside and be your people, your family together. Lord, we thank you for Hannah. We thank you for our own children here in this church and all those who are leading us to see with new eyes and have a new kind of imagination of what it means to be your people. In Christ's name. As we continue to worship this morning.
Can we interrupt one time?
Yes, sir.
One quick announcement. AOSP is coming up the week of July the 14th. We still need at least 11 adult leaders. If you're in a position that you can help, see me or Marcus. We got 160 kids this year who want to participate, and we need adult help in order to do that.
Awesome. Thank you, Wally. So, AOSP, Zoe, a lot's going on life in this church. I'm going to invite you now, as you're able to stand, to greet one another and maybe meet somebody new this morning.
Greetings. Hello, hello.
seated, I'm going to invite the Schmidt family to come join me up here for a moment. Welcome Phil, Susan, Josh, and Jake. They're coming along with 4 other families, so 5 families this morning are going to be joining. I think it's right here. 5 families this morning will be joining across our Apex campus as they journey with us. And one thing I love about when families come alongside and say, we want to be part of this, is they really are watching and experiencing what's happening in this place and saying, we want to be part of it with you. We see this church family, we see people here, the work that's being done, both inside and outside this walls, and say, we want to be a part of it. Not just through our presence on Sunday morning, but through our covenant commitment to journey together. And so I'm so excited for your family to be here with us. They've been in this area since 2009. I live in Holly Springs now, but we're so glad that you guys are here and joining with us this morning. I'm going to invite us to ask, well, I'll ask you all, on behalf of this church, the same historic questions we ask everyone when they join officially into our church family. And so I begin with these questions of profession of faith and ask on behalf of the whole church, do you renounce the spiritual forces of wickedness, reject the evil powers of this world, and your sin? If so, say I do. Do you accept the freedom and power God gives you, resist evil, injustice, and oppression? What reforms do they present themselves? Again, if so, say I do. And you confess Jesus Christ as your Savior, put your whole trust in His grace, and promise to serve Him as your Lord, in union with the church, which Christ has opened to people of all ages, nations, and races. Again, if so, say I do. As members of Christ Universal Church, will you be loyal to Christ through the United Methodist Church, and do all in your power to strengthen its ministries? If so, say I will. As members of the Apex United Methodist Church family, will you faithfully participate in our ministries together by your prayers, your presence, your gifts, your service, and your witness? Again, if so, say I will. Well, brothers and sisters in Christ, I do commend to you love and care now this family before you, asking you to all in your power to increase their faith, confirm their hope, and perfect them in love. We rejoice and bid you welcome to Apex United Methodist Church. With you, we renew our vows to uphold it by our prayers, our presence, our gifts, our service, and our witness. I'd like to pray for their family. So if you would again this morning, I'll reach out and hand a blessing toward them. Let's pray. Almighty God, we give you thanks for the Schmidt family today. We thank you for the ways that you have uniquely created them, the ways that you have filled them with your Holy Spirit, the ways that you have drawn them to you, the ways that you've already used their gifts and their presence in our church family to make us more whole, to make us more like you. So this morning, Lord, as they make this covenant commitment with us and with you, we also affirm our covenant with them and with you. You're reminded that while we are linked together through your Holy Spirit, we might all move closer to you, and this body of Christ might more fully reflect you inside these church walls, in our community, and around the world. Lord, fill us, link us, and send us to be your body together. In Christ's name. Let's celebrate with them. Hannah's going to give you out certificates to make you official. So we're going to put your work right now, both of you. See, Hannah, one of these days, I'm just going to have you come be a pastor here. You can have my job, and it'll be great. So everybody can see what happens. As they're getting seated, I'm going to invite us into a time of prayer. Let's pray. Almighty God, we do give you thanks for this day. We thank you for the ways that your Holy Spirit is indeed present here, present among us. The ways that you use spaces like this to offer us a real encounter with you. Through the stories that we share, through perhaps just simply the greeting of someone beside us, the songs that we sing, the prayers we pray, and your word read and proclaimed, Lord. And all those places your Spirit has made present among us and to us. So we ask that you would move us this day, that through your Spirit you would form us and transform us to look more like you. As individuals, collectively, as we go into the world to share your presence with our world. This morning, Lord, as your word is read and proclaimed, I do humbly ask that the words of my mouth, the meditations of all of our hearts, that they might be acceptable in your sight. Amen. So the last 4 or 5 weeks, it really has been a time where we have celebrated so many fun and exciting and holy things in the life of our church. Immediately following Easter, that next Sunday, Easter itself was a great celebration of the resurrection of Christ. And then we moved that next Sunday and talked about how that resurrection power of Jesus really is moving us, moving through us, and moving our young people as we confirmed on that Sunday about 50 of our youth here at Apex Campus, and then a few weeks later confirmed another 7, that we're all coming alongside and journeying to a place to say, we profess our faith in Christ, and we too want to be part of this movement. And as I shared earlier, is our youth that often not only are led by this place, but are leading this place. And what a great gift it is to have celebrated that only a few short weeks ago. And then we went into this conversation that asks really at its core, when we make this profession, when we say we want to follow Jesus, what does that mean? What does it mean for our lives? What does it mean for our community? What does it mean for our world? And so we've been asking this meaning of life question. And what is the meaning, the significance of the lives that we lead? And we've looked at it at 3 different levels. The first level is an individual level. What does my life mean? Why is my life significant? What can I do as an individual to lead a life that is meaningful or significant in light of our relationship with Christ and our connection to God? We've also asked it relationally or socially. We've asked the question, how do we do this together? What does it mean for us to be in life together, to be in relationship together, and then together, how do we live meaningful and significant lives, again, in light of our relationship with God? And then finally, sort of a cosmic question, existential question, of what does it mean by our very existence, the very fact that we exist, and in relationships to something greater than ourselves. How does that change ourselves, but also this world that we are a part of? And we talked through these themes, and you've heard these the last couple of weeks. Chris, you flip to the next one. The first week we talked about our lives being meaningful because they are connected to something greater. Because there is a God, there is a Creator that not only created us in the beginning, but also continues to journey with us through the power of the Holy Spirit. A God that doesn't leave us or abandon us, but continues to pursue us. And because of that cosmic connection, existential connection, we are connected to something greater than ourselves. And in that connection, we lead lives that reflect that greater love. Week 2, we talk about our lives having meaning because they have purpose. We talk about the purpose of what it means to lead purposeful lives, to lead lives that are here that we might glorify God and enjoy God forever. And that's part of what it means to be in that greater connection, but also to live purposefully and how intentionally and how we live. Especially when we have a time-limited existence where we know in this world our time is limited. And therefore we're going to use that time effectively and well to lead meaningful and significant lives. And then week 3, we talked about what it means to discover meaning while pursuing human perfection. And human perfection, as we define it, the perfect human being Jesus Christ. You often hear me say things like we are journeying to be more like Christ, more like Jesus, both individually and as a church. And so part of how we experience meaning is that we are on this journey to become more like Jesus. And every day we're hopefully moving closer and closer to that reality so that as people do see us, they see lives that aren't just our lives, aren't just our reflection, but that our lives serve as a reflection of Christ to this world. And that is the journey we're on. Last Sunday was Youth Sunday, and I love to watch our youth then speak into this, where our youth have both found meaning and found significance, but also are part of that. And they shared some incredible stories, and if you either were not here or only got a chance to hear one of them last week, I would encourage you. It is so encouraging to me to go back and listen to the podcast from last week. All 4 of our youth that spoke were online, and you get a chance to hear them share their stories. Share stories about things like what it felt like to be rejected for something significant in your life. And how that rejection, God didn't leave them in their rejection, but created a new path, a new way where they might continue in a story that again was bigger than who they were. We heard stories about how this church surrounded many of our youth, and how they experienced here something they didn't experience anything anywhere else. One of our youth, we preached at 8:15 last Sunday. That's where he goes to service every week. 8:15 is his home too. service, but they're both there. And both of our youth that are there have poured into that and been poured into in a way that they've changed that community at 15, our traditional space, and been changed by them. And he shared how that community gave him an imagination for what it means to be church, not just now, but for the future. We hear stories about mentors and how adults in this community have come alongside of our youth and poured into them and cared for them and were present for them. And because of that presence, they saw someone that just embodied God's love for them, but also modeled for them of what it meant to lead a Jesus-centric life, both as a youth, but also as an adult. And so last week, again, our youth just led us, and they taught us, and they pointed us to something beyond ourselves in this season. One thing I also loved about last week was that our youth choirs and our youth praise team helped lead us in worship. They wore these t-shirts, and Chris, this may be a little further ahead, but if you will pull up the youth choir picture from this weekend. This is actually from yesterday. Our youth choir is in Atlanta right now. My son's actually on this trip. He texted me at 1 a.m. Friday night and said, we finally got here. I texted Todd yesterday and he said, how are you doing? He said, I'm very tired. That's what he said. But this is our youth choir that have chosen this weekend. We see the shirts where it says, be love. You know, one thing that our youth are trying to embody is they want to be love for the world. They want to be Christ for this world. And so they don't just want to sing here and offer their gifts in this place, but also for our community and around our country. So they're in Atlanta. They're in places like nursing homes. They were in a VA hospital yesterday. It was especially a Memorial Day weekend. To be in a VA hospital and remind our veterans that they are seen, that they are loved, and they are embraced by God's children. They're in a church this morning just sharing their gifts in that space. And then tomorrow they'll be back in this area right here in Key area at another nursing home to share those gifts with that community. And they're just living out this call that their lives matter, that their presence matters, that their life is meaningful and significant because they're carrying God's love into the world. And so that's where we're going to spend our time this morning. This is week 5. And one of the things that we talk about when we talk about what it means to live a meaningful or significant life is that if we're to live a meaningful or significant life, that reality should be better off because we lived with it. Reality should be better off because we lived with it. One of the calls that God has for us is that when we are present in this world, no matter how long our time is in this world, we have purpose, we offer meaning, we offer significance because the world is better, it's changed. It is more like the kingdom of God because we spend time in it ourselves as a community. So this morning we're going to read a passage from Matthew's Gospel. This is Matthew chapter 25. We're going to be reading from the New Revised Standard Version this morning. The words will be on the screen as well. In Matthew 25, we'll be starting with this verse 31. But Jesus is talking about what it means to live a meaningful life as you look back from eternity, back on the life we lived in this world. This is Matthew 25, beginning with verse 31. And Jesus is talking about the judgment of the nation. Maybe your Bibles will start that way. And this is one of those Revelation passages they tell you not to preach on in the beginning school. He says this. He says, when the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, and he will sit on the throne of his glory. And all the nations will be gathered before him. He will separate people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will put the sheep in his right hand, and the goats at the left. And then the king will say to those at his right hand, come, you that are blessed by my Father. Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, you gave me clothing. I was sick, you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food? Or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you? Or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it we saw you sick or in prison and visited you? And the king will answer them, truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these, who are members of my family, you did it to me. Then he will say to those at his left hand, you that are accursed, depart from me into the eternal fire, prepared for the devils and his angels, for I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not give me clothing. Sick in prison, and you did not visit me. Then they also will answer, Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry, or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not care of you? And he will answer them, truly I tell you, just as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me. And these will go away into eternal punishment, while the righteous into eternal life. This is the word of God for us, the people of God. Thanks be to God. One of the things I'm continually challenged with is that when we talk about the lives that we live at an individual level, we ask this question, how are we living these things out? Are we living lives that are reflective, not just in the words that we say, but the actions that we do, to reflect this ethic of a changed world that looks more like the kingdom of God? One of the hardest, but also most beautiful things that I get to do as a pastor is come alongside families in time of loss. And funerals are one of those things when we experience death that are, again, one of the hardest things that we do is we mourn together, as we cry together, as we weep together for a life lost too early. But it's also a time where we often come together and we remember well. We remember the ways that people live their lives that do have not just meaning for them, but meaning for the next generation. That saw what they did, experienced the impact that they had, and are now carrying it with them throughout their lives. One thing that I often do, almost every time we gather for a memorial service or for a funeral, is I invite members of the family or friends of the family member or friends of the person who died to come and share. To share a few words. They always ask me, how do we do this? What do we say? How do we express this? And most often what I do is I coach them. I say, just pick something. Pick some attribute of them that when you describe them, this word or this characteristic or this value, you feel like they embody well. And then I'll just tell a story of how they've embodied that to you, how they shared that with you. And families that have come to all these different things like your friendship, or compassion, or hospitality, or sacrificial love. And they'll say that this person embodied this for me, and then they'll go and tell a story. And I'm always amazed because the stories that most often are told are not these grand stories. They're not these stories that you might see and say it's like change an institution or change an entire community or change an entire state or whatever it may be. Most often they are stories that are very individual. The stories of a time where someone was sick and this person came and just sat with them for day after day or week after week, just being present. Or a few weeks ago, I heard a story of a grandchild preaching and teaching or talking about his grandfather and how in that space when they came, he said, my favorite thing about my grandfather is every time I came to their house, I would pull up to the door and he was just so excited to see me. He said it was that sort of abundant love, that excitement to remind me that I was loved unconditionally by this person in my life. And it was that unconditional love that showed me the character of Jesus. I had the privilege to actually be part of the service for two of my grandparents. Chris, you have a picture? These are my grandparents, actually with my son. That is Coleman. He was less than a year old in that picture. He is now 12. He is now, as of Mother's Day, in a dead heat with my wife for height. His only goal in life is to pass me in height. That's like, this is it's all, if he does that, he's accomplished. He's about to pass my wife. That is him as an infant. And I remember when I had the opportunity to preach and to talk at both of the services and the stories that people told me, especially with my grandma, when they just talked about little things. It was simple things like watching a game together, when she would come watch us play ball as kids. Or it was things about a phone call she'd make. She had a great knack for anytime a grandchild would call, she'd be watching a game on TV, and if whatever grandchild, whoever they were pulling for, she would tell you she was pulling for that person, that team. So, like, I would call and be like Virginia would be playing Carolina, my sister from Carolina, and I'd be like, Granny, are you pulling for UVA today? And she said, yes, Tim, I'm pulling for UVA today. Go Wahoos. And then my sister would call like 5 minutes later and say, Granny, are you pulling for Carolina today? She goes, yes, Katie, I'm pulling for Carolina today. Go Eagles. And don't tell Tim I told you that, because I just told him I was pulling for Wahoos. So, but like that's what I love about my grandma, is that she cared for us as individuals. She knew us. Like, I always knew that what she showed me about the character of God was she loved the things that we loved. She was passionate about the things we were passionate about. And even when she couldn't do a lot, she would do a little to remind us that she was proud of us. When I was in divinity school, she would every month write me a check for $25. Just so I had a little bit more spending money. Just to remind me that she was proud of me for taking this step in my life. When my grandfather passed away, he passed away before she did. I remember driving into Youngsville, actually. We were in town over in Franklinton. And I pulled up a gas station I'd not been to before. And this was before that they didn't have pay at the pump, so I'd go into the and pay the cashier. I remember handing him my credit card to pay for gas that day. And he looked at my credit card and he saw my last name. He said, are you, by chance, related to Ed Catholic? I said, yes, I am. And I didn't recognize his name or his family's name or anything. And he then proceeded to tell me a story about my grandfather, who was a manager of plants in Franklinton. How he had helped his dad when his dad needed help, to come up with money to replace a roof on their house. And I remember hearing the story and being amazed, because if you know my family at all, or particularly the men in my family, you know that stories get told all the time. They like to tell stories. Some of them are true, some of them are not. We're not going to show which ones. But every time we're together, they just tell stories all the time. It's a storytelling family. And so it's just, and it's usually these stories repeated over and over again. But I will tell you, this is a story I've never heard before. Because more often than not, these are not the stories that get passed around. And yet, when my grandfather passed away, I heard these stories over and over again on the quiet, faithful ways that he just cared for his community. Without a lot of fanfare, without a lot of look at what I'm doing, without a lot of even legacy just pointing back and saying live like this. He just lived a life where he saw people who needed something in that moment and just took care of people. That's how he embodied Christ's love. As I read this passage from Matthew and I hear this invitation to us as individuals, one of the questions that I come to is ask, who are those people in our lives? Who are we paying attention to? Who is God inviting us to see differently, to come alongside? Who are those people who are hungry? They may be food, it might be spiritually, it might be relationally. Who are those who are thirsty? Again, it might be for real drink, it might be for spiritual, it might be for relationship. Who are those that we need to come alongside and comfort and visit? Who needs to know, not just by our words, but by our action, that they are valuable children of God. They are part of God's family. I think one of the ways that we lead these meaningful, significant lives is that we make sure we're always paying attention. People we work with, to our neighbors, to our community, saying, God, where might you lead me to be your love in this world? Second way we do this is as a community together. So individually we ask that ourselves, but we also ask it as a community. How do we do this together? This is one of the things I love about our church. One thing that I love is that, and you'll hear me say this on Sundays when I welcome us to worship often, I love when we come together to do God's work. What Hannah shared earlier is a great example of that. Zoe and this partnership with our children is our church choosing together to possibly do something greater together than we could by ourselves. And we come together, and our children are leading us to go care for orphans around the world and literally to come alongside children, God's children in different places and say, you are seen, you are valuable, you are worthy, we're going to help you live into the fullness of God's dreams for your lives, not by fixing all your problems, but by empowering you to live the full lives God has for you. And we together are doing that. Each month, you heard me share earlier about a hurricane trip. Each month, We are going to our neighbors in our state together, and across our church family, we are saying we're going to come together and we're going to serve and come alongside to help build up the body, to make homes warmer, safer, drier, both with hurricane relief, with things like AOSP, with Yes this fall. We together are saying we as a body, relationally, as a community, can not just speak about our faith, not just sing about our faith, not just pray about our faith, but live our faith. If you walk out this hallway between here and Crossroads, you'll see bins lined up, 4 of them, where you can donate each week to feed the hungry. There are partnerships with things like Western Way Crisis Ministry, the Davis High School Food Kitchen. To do this work so that we can come alongside, again, people right here in our neighborhoods and say, if you're hungry, we want to be part of feeding you. We do so much together to make that possible. A few weeks ago, we hosted the Red Cross. 47 units of blood were given so that people might have a chance at life. A week after that, we hosted Family Promise, where homeless families stayed in our buildings. I think this is what Christ is calling us to when Jesus says that you've experienced this connection to God, and now go do something. You have purpose with who you are individually and as a community. This weekend, as we remember those who sacrificed their lives for the sake of our country, we remember people who were connected to a greater purpose, to create freedom. And even though we pray, there will be a time where there is no more war. If that's what we want to move ourselves to, we know there are people that because there is a time now where that's not yet true, have laid down their lives for our sake. To give us freedom to worship, freedom to live, freedom to go do something with our lives. It's a connection to this greater purpose to care for others that embodies this ethic that Christ offers us. The last thing I want to share is this, and this is this idea of what it means to be connected to the cosmic or the existential. The cosmic existential way of doing purpose is that we want to create space for people to encounter God. Because we believe when people encounter God, their lives are changed both internally, for eternity, and for right now. There's a story that Sheila Ayler, who's preaching in our traditional service, shared with me about Bishop Will Wilmot. Will's a retired bishop who serves the Dean of Duke Chapel for years. And while he was there, he tells a story. Chris, I think we got this quote. While he was at the Dean of Duke Chapel, he received a call from the father of a Duke student. He says the father was raging and ranting because his daughter was about to graduate with an engineering degree from Duke. To answer a call she heard to go be a missionary in Honduras. The father said, "Why did you do this to her? How can you let her throw away a promising career for a missionary position?" The bishop answered, "Dad, it's your fault, not mine. Didn't you have her baptized as an infant in your United Methodist Church? Take her to Sunday school, send her to church camp on youth mission trips, encourage her to take Bible study classes?" The father said, "Of course we did. We only expected her to be a good Methodist, not someone called to actually go do something." I will make commentary completely on that last line. You guys spent a whole lot of time there. But here's the reality. Sometimes I think what we think is that if we go to church and we go to Sunday school class, we study scripture, we do these things, but as long as we are kind of in those right spaces, like we'll kind of live this life. The reality is, if we're in those spaces, what might just happen is we might just encounter the Holy Spirit who's going to call us to live different lives. That's how we connect to the existential. We connect to a God that is still moving, a God that is still alive, a God that's calling each of us not just to speak of our faith, but to live our faith. So every time we worship, that's my prayer. Every time we gather, that's my prayer. That we would encounter the Holy Spirit, so the Holy Spirit might form us, transform us, and lead us to a place where when we go in this world, people do in fact see Jesus when they see us. So the invitation this morning is this. Who are those people right now in your life? Maybe God's laying someone in your heart this morning. It could be an individual. It could be a community. It could be a partner. It could be that you heard Wally this morning invite you to serve at AOSP, and you're going, you know what? I've been waiting. That's how I'm going to step in and make a difference. Maybe your ability, maybe the gift you can give is a gift to Zoe to help partner with our kids. Maybe it's just someone who you know needs a meal or a visit or a text or a phone call. But my prayer is that you would listen to God calling today. And ask how that small move, that small ask, that small invitation might just transform this world. My prayer for our church is that reality, that our community, that our world will be better because our church existed in it. I believe that to be true. I trust that to be true. I challenge us to continue to make that true in all of us. Let's pray. Almighty God, as we gather this day, we do ask that a real encounter with your Holy Spirit. An encounter that we have the courage to let you change us. That we have the courage to let you lead us. We have the courage that we might follow you wherever you go. Lord, teach us to be a people who go empowered by your love to change our world. In Christ's name. Each week when we worship, one of the ways we worship is the giving of our tithes and offerings together. As we give, is one of the mutual ways that we come together, that we are better together than we are apart. That we invest in this kingdom movement we share. And so as you give this morning, I want you to do generously out of this common work that we do together.